What's up, people? I'm back. Fred White, Tales from the Pen. If you're new to the channel, go down, hit subscribe, hit the bell, hit the all, so you will get notifications whenever I put up videos. So today, I just came up here to chop it up with y'all real quick, put a quick video up because, I've been seeing a lot of crazy things online, right? So I want to know what you guys think about it. So, now a lot of people are blaming Vladtv for Casanova being indicted and other rappers being indicted. They say a lot of the questions that Vlad asks are with purpose. That he's like a federal, he works with the feds. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, right? But I will say this. We as people, when we do interviews or anything, we have choices, right? We have choices that we make. Now, if you choose to answer these questions, right, that's on you. Like, I want to say this, right? You can't say just if it's Vladtv that it's just Vladtv then doing that, right? Because all these guys, a lot of these big platforms ask questions to people that, could be interpreted wrong. You understand? It's like this, right? Do you blame the gun or do you blame the shooter? Right? Do you blame social media or do you blame the dumbass people on social media putting out garbage, right? So it's really just how you want to look at it. It's really how you want to, look at that concept. Because here's the thing. Because at the Casanova's in grand jury, whatever it was, indictment, whatever they arraignment, whatever it was in feds, I don't know what the feds do. Whatever it was, the feds actually said that part of the evidence that they have is what he said himself on the Vladtv interview. Now, this is what I've been telling you guys, right? This is what I've been telling you guys. This part just came out, I think, yesterday. Like, I read it yesterday. That they're using the Vladtv interview as part of the indictment. So I get where people say, oh, Vlad is getting people indicted, but I just don't see it that way. I just see that these people chose to go on Vladtv. Why? Because he's a big platform, right? And they want to get their name out there. They want to get their buzz out there, right? So I get it. I get that concept. But when you're going up on these platforms and you're talking about the stuff that you did or the stuff that you are into or have been into in the past, you have to understand that other people other than your homies, people other than, your enemies, people other than them type people are watching. People of law enforcement are watching you. They're watching that. And this is what I've been saying forever. Now, I don't know Vladtv. I don't know Vlad. I don't know if he's a fed or not. I don't know. I have no idea. However, what I do know is you have the right to answer questions or you have the right not to answer questions. Because I've seen him ask questions that people just ducked and avoided. They were smart about it. I've seen that before. Right? So you also have to understand that here's another thing. For all these dudes doing interviews and things like that, right? Especially like in studios and things like that. What happens is when the feds have these guys under indictment, okay? They have them under indictment already and they're watching these videos, right? When the trial and the sweep comes through, they're going to raid that office of yours too. And they're going to take all the film and everything that you have from that interview, because you know, most of the time all these videos are cut up. They're going to get the originals and they're going to listen to every part of that conversation. That's a fact. That's what the feds do, man. That's what the feds do. They're going to... You might get caught up as a witness just for being an interviewer in certain cases. You might be caught up as a witness now, because this is what he told you on video, and they may pull you into court. Certain of these platforms, you guys, people need to be careful, man. I'm telling you, man, the feds don't play games, man. The feds don't play games. And again, I explained this about the feds and the Rico, right? And I explained that you could just be one part of the game. Like, you could just be, you know, selling drugs. But when the Rico Act come in and the feds come in, you're going down with the same charges as the cocaine seller. You're going down as the same charges as the robber, as the thief, as the extortionist. Okay? You're going down. It's all part of one umbrella. One big circle, and they throw all these charges in. And like I always say, they can go back 10 years. They say he was indicted, but what happens is they do what's called sealed indictments. Okay? Right? Walking indictment, you know, like whatever word you want, it's sealed indictments. Okay? And they indict people, but only the prosecutor and the courts know. Only them people know, because they don't want they don't want to have to put the witnesses and stuff out there, because, you know, they have the confidential informants in the gangs, like I always tell you guys, right? Who get paid. They get paid to do this. I've done a video about confidential informants, man. Confidential informants, depending on the level that you are, right? Each agent is allotted $100,000 for his informants, right? But it depends on what level you are. Like, if you're just, you know, selling drugs in the hood level, you know, and you're pointing people out, you may get, you know, X amount of dollars. But the further up that you are in this high, you know, hierarchy of rats, because there's a whole, I'm telling you, there's thousands of them walking around amongst the public, amongst the hood, walking around banging, walking around with guns, straight rats on the government payroll. And you know, guys always know I say, every fucking, if you're a big gang, you got one in there. You got a few in there that have been caught up. They got caught on other charges, and the feds say, hey, listen, we can make we can make all these robberies disappear. You got something for us? You know, if not, I understand. You want to just do your time. You want to just take the 60 years? Fine. You want to get out when you're 80? Up to you. However, we could form some type of partnership. We can make 80 years disappear. Put them right back in the streets. And that's it. They're hooked now. And there's a bunch of them everywhere. In every hood. That's how it is, man. This is why I'm trying to tell people. People really don't understand it. But now, as more people are getting arrested, more things are coming to light, right? G Herbo, now they're saying his ex-baby mother, his first baby mother, she got called in and she may have to testify. Like, this is what I'm trying to say. Even to you ladies, when you get caught up with these dudes, right? And he's you know, bringing drugs in and out of your house. Guess what? Rico. You're going down too when they kick that door in. He can be, I didn't know it was in there. That shit don't matter. You knew it was in there. You can't play stupid. That's not a good law defense. That's not a defense in the court of law. It's stupid. It's not. And you go down with them. Right? Unless you got information for us. Yeah, You guys would be surprised. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I always felt that way. Like dudes who've been in the hood a long time getting money, I stay away from those guys, definitely. Because, you know, there's a reason that you've been selling drugs. If you guys know somebody who's been in your hood selling for years and nothing's ever happened to him, I know what happened to him. I know what happened to him. He's protected now. And that's it. I don't want to hear, oh, dudes don't know how to move. Oh, he's just a little slicker. There's no such thing. Okay? There's no such thing. So, all the big time drug dealers, and he's out here for years, he's a rat. Because that shit don't last long, y'all. That shit doesn't last long at all. So yeah, people are intrigued about this. Everybody's DMing me about this cash shit, and that's not really my thing. I'm just giving information on how the federal government works. I don't know his case. I don't know really much about his case. It's, so I'm not actually speaking on what he's charged with or what, like the actual particulars of the case, because I don't really know it. I just know that he's caught up in the Rico. And that's all I need to know. I don't need to know anything else to know that he's in some shit right now. You know what I mean? And I don't think Cass is the type. I'm gonna call this right now. I don't think Cass is the type to go Tekashi's route. You know what I mean? It's just, he's different. And that's the problem too, man. A lot of people, especially in the rap world, like if you don't have a felony, if you ain't been to jail, if you ain't dropped nothing, if you ain't do none of that, you don't really have credibility, right? You don't really have that credibility, supposedly, in the streets or in the rap world, right? It's all these guys have to have felonies and things like that, but just remember, all you people, the feds are watching. They're watching all these videos. They watch everything. You know what's crazy is that, I've spoken about people flossing online, showing their money, showing their guns, showing all types of stuff online, right? Just indicting themselves. You know what was crazy? I'm sure like when social media first came out and YouTube and all the rest of this, so the feds actually were like, oh, this is wonderful. Think about it. We don't have to go out anymore. We don't have to break into places, right? Like how they did with the Italians. We don't have to break into places after this night is over and put plants in, microphones. We don't have to pose as cable guys anymore to get into some people's apartments. We don't have to, do any of that type of work anymore. This is the feds. Because all they have to do is sit back and go on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and they're in your house. Because these dudes are indicting themselves. And it's crazy because a lot of these here, I'm going to make this point. A lot of these gangs and things like that, no disrespect to, shout out to all of them, salute to all of them. A lot of these gangs try to structure themselves as organizational type things, right? And they try to structure themselves like, say like mafia principles or mafia type thing with a head, the underboss commission type thing, right? So, a lot of them. But I tell you what, you will never see a made mafia man with his button get on internet, period. But get on the internet, Instagram, Facebook, whatever the fuck, YouTube, Twitter, whatever the fuck, all this TikTok and all the rest. You will never see one of them getting on there talking about how much money they make. You will never see none of them getting on them type platforms stunting. You'll never see those type people get on here and talk about their crimes. The only ones that you see on here, the Italians that are on here that you may see talk about their past crimes, they are rats already and have already turned states governments, and they've already You understand? They've already been past rats. They're rats. All of them that's on this internet now talking about their past. You understand? Because they've dealt with it already. They've all went to jail. They've all, right? But, you know, I'm not calling out names. I'm just saying you guys know who they are. They're known rats. They're government rats. That's why they're able to talk about so freely about their crimes. I'm talking about ones who are active and in that mob actual themselves. You will never see them on here. Right? So, and they don't like to be flamboyant. And that's what happened with John Gotti. Okay? Right? Well, if you think about it, when John Gotti, he was too flamboyant. He was too, fuck you to the government. I'm the Teflon Don. I'm going to bribe jurors. I'm going to take people's mothers hostage to get up out this conviction, right? But then they changed the laws, and then they made anonymous juries where you don't know who they are, and then everything changed. But the actual big dogs in the mob, the real big dogs, they didn't like Gotti. He was too flamboyant. He brought too much attention to the organization. This quiet organization. You gotta have an organization. It's got to be quiet. John Gotti took it to another level. When John Gotti killed Paul Castellano outside of Sparks Steakhouse, that brought too much attention to the mob. So the real bosses, I'm talking about the real ones above him, because they were. They weren't with any of that type thing, because everything they want to keep it quiet. So when he started making all these spectacles and doing all that, listen, when John Gotti went to jail, you could bet that there was a lot of Italians and a lot of big bosses that were happy. Right? Because they tried to stay underground. We know, things happen after that, but do you understand what I mean? He was too flamboyant. That never was going to work. You can't be flamboyant. You can't be, do those type of things. It brings too much attention. Gotti was the blueprint, y'all. All you people flossing online, it's quiet. Irish mob, you don't hear nothing. You don't hear none of that. So if you're gonna be basing yourself and your tactics around mob principles, then you're missing the main one. The main one is be quiet. You talk too much. Main thing is being quiet, being hush about it, not letting the world know. Because when these kids is on here flossing money and flossing all this, all they doing is trying to impress the people they went to junior high school and high school with or something. I don't know. You're never going to see none of those type mob guys on here, doing craziness and reporting their crimes and doing all that. You're never going to see that. As a matter of fact, you know how a lot of this, and we've been hearing a lot about it on the news, these people killing other people by accident, like in these drive-bys, coming by, driving by, spraying up the block, killing grandma, killing the 1-year-old baby here in Bed-Stuy, shooting up the Sweet 16 over here in Bed-Stuy a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Two guys went up to a couple. I don't know the whole particulars. They went up there. They started shooting up the Sweet 16. Shot 7 people. Killed a 21-year-old girl who had nothing to do with nothing. I say all that to say that in the mafia, when they go and they hit somebody, number one, it's for a purpose. It's for a reason. Right? Wars. We get it. Number two is they're not going to make public spectacles of it like John Gotti did in 85. Okay? A lot of times when they deal with the things, people end up missing. Not saying that I'm just saying. They end up missing. They end up gone. Right? And if any of their own hitmen were to go and spray up a block and accidentally kill a kid, accidentally kill a grandmother, accidentally kill anybody other than their target, that hitman would be found in the back of a Cadillac, because that wasn't part of the rules. The rules are no kids, no civilians, no people who don't have anything to do with it. Now, down in Mexico, they deal with a whole different ball game, right? They deal with, like, you fuck up, you snitch, we're gonna kill your kids and your grandmother and everybody, and that's known there. That's integrated into them. That's why when they catch them mules coming across from Mexico to Texas with 2,000 pounds of weed, 6,000 pounds of meth, and them motherfuckers would shut the hell up. They shut up because they know they tell their whole family's wiped out. That's different principles, different areas. I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about, but I'm just saying. That's what happens in Mexico. And with the Italians, if a hitman was to kill a baby, man, by accident, that hitman would be, it's like sacrifice, like a blood sacrifice. He's going to die. You know, law enforcement's going to know that he's dead. They don't know where he is, but they know he's gone too. Because that's how they work. So if you're going to base your principles and trying to be an organization, then you got to do a little bit more studying, man. Right? If you're going to have an organization, you got to be careful of the people that you put down with you as well. Right? Because not everybody's you. And your principles and morals and standards. You know, you may be a stand-up guy when the lights come on, right? Like in my car right now. When the lights is bright in your face. But the next guy is not going to be. You know, out of 3 of y'all, you know, there's going to be at least one rat that's going to tell the whole story. So, I don't know. I just feel people, you know, need to watch what they do, man. And you guys know I've been saying that shit for a while, man. This is nothing new. What else? So, let's talk about... So, rest in peace to Charlie Pride. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I heard of Charlie Pride, right? So Charlie Pride died, COVID. I think he was 87 years old. And Charlie Pride was the first African-American country singer. He was the first one to have, you know, he was a star, country star, African-American. He's the first one in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Country Music Hall of Fame. He's the first African-American to be inducted. So, you know, salute to Charlie Pride. Now, the thing is, I don't know what Charlie Pride, like, I don't know what Charlie Pride song. Maybe if one came across the radio, I'd be like, oh, that was Charlie Pride. Like, I don't know Charlie Pride. But I just think about the courage of somebody standing up to certain things. Because imagine the struggle he had to get into the industry in the first place. Imagine how many people told him, how many of his own peers told him, listen, man, you know, get a regular job. Because he was also a pitcher in the Negro League Baseball. That's what they called it, Negro League Baseball. He was also a pitcher too. But my point is, imagine how many people told him, man, you can't do that. Them white folk ain't gonna let you in. Imagine how many people told him that. But he kept, my point is, he kept going. He persevered. He knew he was going to take a lot of backlash too, right? He knew getting into an industry where there was not one African American. I mean, that takes some balls. Think about it, people. Going against everything, going against the grain, going against the waves that's coming at you. I'm going out. You don't care about these waves coming in. I'm going. And I'm going to make it to the sea. Ooh, think about it. Right? Like, I don't know the guy, but just the struggle, like, that had to be crazy. And you know what's crazy about this whole thing is that they were saying that, I was listening on radio, they were saying that, like, the first couple albums, and his first album was a smash, like, every song was a hit in the country world, right? Everybody loved him, the whole country music, like, he was the #1 thing, right? And then they found out he was black. Yeah, how crazy is that? Because you got to remember, he was out back then, you know, before videos, before, you know, Instagram, before social media, before, you know, internet. Like, he was, so all people had was an album, right? So when they heard it on the radio, it was just what it was. He's a country music. I mean, and then they found out he was an African American man. Then sales went down a little bit. Nah, I don't know, but I mean, that's crazy, you know, when you think about it. I guess they did that right? I mean, because maybe he wouldn't have been accepted. You know what that makes me think of? You guys ever see the Dave Chappelle show? when Dave Chappelle played a blind African-American man who thought he was white. Like, he was raised his whole life thinking that he's white. He's blind, right? So he came part of the Klan. He wrote 2 books and, you know, kill the black man. Like, he was like totally like, you know, into that. Like, it's a really, really funny skit. And then at the end, he's power, you know, kill a black man and doing all that. And then he takes his hood off and the whole crowd is like, and they all look at him, and he doesn't, you know, again, he's blind in the skit, so he doesn't understand why everybody just paused and stopped, and, you know. So I was just thinking about that, and that's how much Charlie Fried must have been like when they was like, you know, that's a black man singing. All right, people, man. I just wanted to, you know, take a quick break from what I'm doing, man, and give you guys a little something. You know, I'll be back Wednesday. You know, with my live, not a live, but I'm gonna upload something on Wednesday for you guys, 8 o'clock. You guys know the motto, man. Experience is the greatest teacher. Somebody else's experience could be just as valuable if you pay attention and listen. And on that note, people, salute.